Anyone calling for Dan Campbell to be fired is a lying snake. Look, all of these people in 2022, 2023, and 2024 were glazing Dan Campbell to death. He trusts his team. He's aggressive. He's a risk taker. He's bold. We love it. So when it's working, he's brilliant. He's bold, etc., etc. But when it doesn't work on fourth down, now he's an idiot. Now he needs to be fired. You have to make up your mind. You can't wait until after the fact. A decision isn't smart or done based on the outcome of it. Now, in some cases it is. If you keep making a decision and it never works out, if you're 0 for 10, at some point you do have to reevaluate and say, well, I thought this was a 50-50. It turns out it's not a 50-50. But with something like a fourth down, you can't say it's a good decision if it worked. It's a bad decision if it didn't work. You make a decision before. We can all Monday morning quarterback, well, you should have done this. Okay, cool. Let me go back in time and make that decision. That's not productive. You have to either support aggressive play calls most of the time. I'm not saying that you need to want to go for it every single time. I'm not saying if it's 4th and 20 and you're up by 3 points, you need to go for it. No, you don't need to be ridiculous. But if your game plan, if your style is to go for it on 4th and 5 or less, you have to go for it on 4th or 5 and less. You can't support it when it works and not support it when it doesn't work. You have to make a decision. And you don't have to support aggressive play calling. If you're the kind of person that believes in traditional play calling, punt, take the 3, play the field position, play smart conservative football, that's fine. I don't have any beef with those people. If you don't like Dan Campbell because you just don't disagree with his play calling, that's fine. But if you're one of the people that said he was a great coach, that loved all this aggressiveness when it was working, but when it doesn't work, now you want him fired, that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And look, I think a lot of this at the end of the day, as much as people don't like to hear it, I think a lot of this comes down to luck. In 2023, the Lions were 72% on fourth down. In 2024, they were 67%. This year, they're 58%. Look, they went from being an elite team on fourth down to being a good team on fourth down to being below average on fourth down. Some of that's tip passes, some of that's penalties, some of that's luck. That's just how it goes. And it's the same thing with close games. Last season, they were 7-2 in one-score games. This year, they're 2-5 in one-score games. Last season, they lost 3 fumbles. This season, they lost 7 fumbles. A lot of this is one penalty goes your way, one tip pass goes your way. And now this year, the fourth down doesn't go your way. The play call, you called a man beater, but they were in zone. You called a blitz beater, but they only brought 2. Football is a close game. You're not always going to win games. A lot of times when you get extremely lucky last season, the pendulum is going to swing. It's the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. What were they? They were 11-1 in one-score games last year, and this year they're 2-8. So the pendulum is going to swing. There's just some lucky things that you can't control for. Whether or not you recover fumbles defensively, whether or not you can recover your own fumbles offensively, whether or not the refs make the 50-50 calls in your direction or against you. Look, these are some things, whether or not the fourth down call worked out based upon the defense. Some of this stuff just isn't with the injury luck, the schedule you play. Some of this stuff, you're going to have good luck one year, you're going to have bad luck one year. I don't think it's fair to cast aspersions on Dan Campbell. And another thing that I kind of find crazy is the Lions most likely, it depends on how they play week 18, because they're 8-8. But the Lions are going to be one of the best teams ever to miss the playoffs. They have a plus 65 point differential. They're 8-8 right now. They have the, I think, 8th or 9th best point differential in the NFL, and they're going to miss the playoffs. They've already been eliminated. So they're a good football team. When your point differential, let's just say they tie in week 18, so they're 8-1 with a 65-point differential positively. That's a good football team. That's a wild card football team or winning a weak division football team. That's not a football team that we need to hate on. The Carolina Panthers are minus 45 in point differential, and they're probably going to be hosting a playoff game. Football's that close. You play in a different division. You get one call, goes your way. Football, it's extremely close for the Detroit Lions to be an 11-win team that's competing for their division. The bad